going on, everybody? Welcome back to another page from the playbook. This is Nate bringing to you guys episode 1 of 32 NFL teams in-depth look at their 2024-2025 season, where we are going to break down everything about this team. We're going through the coaching staff, we're going to go through the depth chart and talk about some key changes at each position, how we think their positions look, and ultimately we're going to get into a full schedule breakdown. All 17 games for these teams. We're going to tell you if we think this team will win this game or lose this game, and there will be reasoning behind it. It's not just, I like that team more, flip a coin, I'm going with them. There will be reasoning behind each of these game picks, and ultimately we'll cultivate in our final season prediction for each of these teams based on their depth chart and their matchups week to week. Today's team, I've got the AFC North. I'm starting it off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we get into today's video, guys, I just want to give a special shout out to today's sponsors, starting with Gold Fine and Bowles, lawyers for the injured. Personal injury, workers' compensation, those are their two things, but any sort of legal advice, they're the people to call. Give them a phone call, 309-673-5144. Tell them we sent you, okay? And I'd also like to shout out SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video as well. Use promo code PlaybookSports on their website to get $20 off your first purchase of $30 or more. Let's get back to the video. Steelers, growing up, for me, the Steelers were always that franchise that was just always so good. 10 to 12 wins every single season. A team you never wanted to play. Ben Roethlisberger was awesome. They bring in Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. They were an insanely good football team for so long, and they've just kind of fallen off recently. I mean, they were an imposing franchise every single season. But the last few seasons, that's really changed as they've just kind of settled for average. I'm not saying that they're just choosing to be average. I mean, they took Kenny Pickett in the first round 2 years ago, and he's already gone. It was pretty clear that he wasn't going to be the answer. I didn't think he was a first-round guy at the time. That was proven correctly as they got, like a 6th or 7th-round pick back for him? Awful. So they always just kind of stayed above 500, kept the Mike Tomlin streak alive. Love that. But they never were a team where you're just like, oh, yeah, this is a team. This team is dangerous. I haven't thought of the Steelers as being dangerous in a long time. Probably since the second to last year of Big Ben's career. It's been a while, guys, since anybody really should have truly feared the Steelers. They've made a ton of changes this offseason. Will those changes bring them back to a team where you're like, oh, shoot, it's the Steelers, we're playing the Steelers, it's a tough out? Or is it once again going to be a Steelers team that we're just like, yeah, 9 wins, chalk it up? Let's talk about it, and we're going to start with their coaching staff. And truthfully, I think Mike Tomlin is one of the 4 or 5 best coaches in the entire NFL. Especially with Bill Belichick leaving, he has an argument for the best or second best head coach in the entire NFL. He keeps an excellent staff at all times, and the man just wins. He just absolutely wins. 17 straight seasons of winning football for Pittsburgh. You guys have no idea how good you've had it. You are so lucky to see last 17 years a team go out and be above 500. That just doesn't happen, right? That just doesn't happen. He's only a few games, I think he's 4 seasons away from being the all-time leader in consecutive winning seasons. That's just an insane record. So he's awesome. He's a fantastic coach. He keeps a really good staff. Like I said, I like their defensive coordinator, Terrell Austin. Worked his way up Tomlin's staff and is now going into his 3rd year in the role, which means this defense is going to maintain its heavy 3-4 attacking front, where they are going to blitz you. They are going to clog up the line of scrimmage and gap fill aggressively and basically say, you're not going to beat us with the short stuff. You're going to have to take the top off of us. Can you do that? Which is kind of the opposite of what current modern NFL teams are doing, right? Defenses are all playing back. You've got 3 safety shells. You've got cover 4. You've got a lot of quarters. You've got a lot of dime packages out there. And everyone's just like, you know what? You can have the little things. You're not going to beat us deep. The Steelers are like, to hell with that. You're not going to beat us short. You don't get the easy things. You need to make the hard things work. And some teams can't do it. They can nickel and dime you to death, but if you're preventing that and making them beat you over the top and you're not afraid of giving up the big play like the Steelers aren't, it can be very, very beneficial. It's such an old school style of football in a new age, era of football. So I really appreciate that. They really make you earn every single yard. No light boxes from them. They don't believe in it. They make you earn every single thing that you get. And that's really AFC North football, which you'll find out as I get into the other 3 teams later down the road here. Physical defense, nothing's going to come easy against these guys. Offensively, they finally got rid of Matt Canada, who was an awful offensive coordinator. But they bring in someone who has been an awful head coach in Arthur Smith. Now, I'm trying to remove my tainted vision of him because I hated him in Atlanta. I couldn't even watch Atlanta play football. I'm not a Falcons fan, but I couldn't even watch them play because their offense was so boring. It was so hard to watch. But quietly, and in spite of his refusal to use the talent that he has, Drake London, no thanks. Let me go throw it to Olamide Zacarias or whoever the hell, I don't know. just some random guy. I'm just going to throw him the ball instead. And Bijan Robinson, who? No, 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 no. No, sir. We're going to let Tyler Algier get the carries today. Just crazy to me. In spite of that, though, their offense was still respectable, and even though they had the worst quarterback play in the entire NFL. And I will say he does deserve some blame for that. He doesn't get the slide for his quarterbacks being in there. He wanted Desmond Ridder. He took a good look at Lamar Jackson as a free agent and said, I'm good. I don't need that on my team, dummy. Whatever. Either way, as an offensive coordinator, he's done good things. In Tennessee, he did really well with Ryan Tannehill, made him look like a top 15 quarterback when we all knew he truly wasn't. Just ran the heck out of the ball with Derrick Henry. I truly expect to see a lot of that this year, and we'll get more into why here in just a bit. But I do like this coaching staff, honestly. I think that Arthur Smith is a very complimentary offensive coordinator when he's not asked to do too much. Mike Tomlin just knows how to build a staff, and the defense will stay the same for the third straight season. You guys know I'm a huge fan of continuity in the coaching staff. And I really like what this coaching staff brings. I think this is one of the 5 best coaching staffs in the entire NFL, personally. So, now we've talked coaching, let's talk players. We're going to start sliding down the depth chart here. We'll go kind of fast, and the defense is just kind of all one big blurb, right? Offensively, huge change here. All 3 quarterbacks for the Steelers last year are out the door. No more Kenny Pickett. No more Mitchell Trubisky, no more Mason Rudolph. Those days are behind us. Instead, they bring in Russell Wilson, who they're going to be paying the vet minimum to, which is a great deal. Thanks, Denver, for paying his entire salary this year. That was nice of you. And they also traded for Justin Fields to be a backup. I do think that the job is Russell Wilson's to lose. However, I could see Fields maybe earning some snaps and getting some carries. Please don't move him to like kick return or something stupid. Don't try and be cute and give in to social media. That's dumb. The guy's a quarterback. Give him a chance. I like Justin Fields. I was begging the Bears to use him right the last several seasons, and they never did. It's like, hey, this guy can run the ball super effectively, but we don't want to do that. We want to make him be a pocket passer. It's not who he was. It's not who he was. Don't draft a guy and think, I'm going to change him in the NFL. Guess what? He wasn't doing it in college. Probably not going to be able to do it in the NFL, my opinion. So maybe the Steelers can get the best out of Justin Fields if he sees the field at all, pun intended. I do think, obviously, the quarterback room is definitely upgraded, and depending on what Russell Wilson we get, this could be a top half of the league type of quarterback room, like 15-16 range. I'm not sure what Russell Wilson we're going to get. I don't know. We haven't seen good Russell Wilson football in several years. Now, Broncos' first year, Nathaniel Hackett didn't know what he was doing. He still doesn't, but he somehow keeps the job thanks to his buddy Aaron Rodgers. And then Sean Payton and him did not mesh. They each have different styles. Sean Payton likes the shorter, intermediate, over-the-middle throws. Russell Wilson's all about that moon ball that he throws. That is absolutely a thing of beauty. Love watching Russell Wilson moon balls. But that didn't mesh. So these last 2 seasons, it's like what kind of, he's 2 years older. He hasn't really looked great in 3 full seasons. I think it's fair to say he's the 4th best quarterback in the division as a starter. I think Deshaun Watson's more talented, and then clearly Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are too. So I like the room more than I liked it last year when Kenny Pickett was very obviously the worst of the 4 starting quarterbacks in the division, but I still don't think it's fantastic. Running back room, we've got no changes. It's going to be Najee. It's going to be Jaylen Warren. It is going to. I'm excited to watch how Najee plays without getting his 5th-year option picked up. Hopefully that lights a fire under him and he gets going, especially in an Arthur Smith run-heavy offense. Wide receiver. I hated the Deontay Johnson trade, guys. I absolutely hated it. For Dante Jackson, an okay corner, absolutely not. Deontay Johnson, I don't care about off-the-field stuff. It's not like George Pickens is some saint off the field either, right? And you guys have a knack for bringing these guys in and doing well with them. Deontay Johnson has been good. Antonio Brown, bit of a head case. I think we can all agree on that. Fantastic for the Steelers. Le'Veon Bell, bit of a head case. Fantastic for the Steelers. Terrible everywhere else. Same with Antonio Brown, honestly. I think that the guys with bad, maybe some character issues, if we want to call them that, don't really have that on the Steelers. You only hear about a lot of in-house struggles. So Deontay Johnson, if it's off-the-field issues, you can get past it. He can absolutely get past it. I felt like they very clearly lost this trade with the Panthers, and they didn't really have a plan. Like, George Pickens is good. George Pickens is a solid number 2. He's not a number 1 receiver. Maybe down the road he could develop into an okay number 1. A guy that you're like, yeah, he's our number 1 receiver this year. It's he's going to go for a little over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's never going to be an alpha. He's not an alpha wide receiver. He doesn't get the separation to be an alpha wide receiver. Fantastic at contested catches. Maybe the best in the league. But he doesn't get any separation at all, and that's a problem. So I don't love that. And then behind him, you look behind him, it's just a bunch of small, fast guys, a bunch of slot wide receivers. Van Jefferson's the 2nd biggest receiver, 2nd tallest, behind George Pickens, and he's barely over 6 feet tall. You got guys like Roman Wilson, who they just took in the second round from Michigan. Was he second? Second or third round, I don't know. Either way, he's their number 3 receiver, smaller, quicker guy.
They've just Calvin Austin, little fella. They've just got small players. They've got very small wide receivers behind them, and I just don't like it. I don't like their wide receiver room. I don't think the weapons are very good. I think Russ had better weapons in Denver, truthfully, and will have had probably better play calling. So, again, I think that kind of reflects back on Russell Wilson and my thoughts on him as well. Maybe Russ just is maybe he'll struggle. I don't know. I'm not getting into that. I just don't love the weapons here. I like Freiermuth at tight end. Obviously, the guy's a stud. I love Darnell Washington last year coming out of the draft. I would love to see them use him some this year. And the running backs are okay. They're not game changers. So you need something at wide receiver, and they just don't have it. They just don't have it here. So the offense I'm a little bit down on outside of their offensive line. A lot of changes here. I have two of them that I think were just absolutely fantastic moves that they made, and that was in their draft. They had my favorite draft. You can go watch all of my offseason videos. My favorite draft was the Pittsburgh Steelers because their first two picks, Troy Fautanu and Zach Frazier, they're both listed as day one starters. Frazier's going to start at center, and Fautanu is currently listed as the starting left tackle. Fautanu can play all five positions on the offensive line, and you could realistically play Zach Frazier any of the three interior offensive line positions. And they also got Mason McCormick in the fourth round and Peyton Turner in the third round. They had such a good draft. Roman Wilson was a third rounder. Got it. Just now. Clicked. Because Peyton Wilson, not Peyton Turner, Peyton Wilson, the linebacker out of NC State. I'm all over the place, people. I'm sorry. Either way, they had a fantastic draft. I absolutely love their draft, and it was really done here. I love Zach Frazier. I'm a huge Zach Frazier fan. It will not shock me if we look around the league in 4 or 5 years and Zach Frazier is one of the 5 best centers. It won't shock me at all. And I love Troy Fautanu as well. He was a draft process darling. He ran the drills so smoothly at the combine. He looked fantastic out there. And the positional versatility is fantastic. You cannot coach that. I mean, you can't teach that. He can play all 5 positions, and he could probably play them at a very high level. So I love the upgrades to the unit. Again, it also kind of lends them being a more run-heavy team. So, again, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, if you're fantasy people, I'm looking at them. I'm not touching a wide receiver from this team because they're not going to get the ball. Defensively, they've made a number of changes. I'm just going to highlight a couple here. I love the addition of Patrick Queen to replace a couple of average-level linebackers here. Patrick Queen's an absolute stud. He's going to command that defense. He's just an AFC North linebacker, right? Going from the Ravens to the Steelers, that's the kind of style of football he plays. He's aggressive. He's a very, very good athlete. Former first-round pick out of LSU. I love Patrick Queen. Would have loved him in Miami. I think he found a fantastic home here in Pittsburgh, though, and he's going to be a real problem this year. I also like that they brought in Deshaun Elliott, added him to the safety room, played really well for Miami last year. I think alongside Minka, him and Minka form a fantastic safety duo that provide versatility, can cover tight ends if needed, and are very solid at what they do. I really do like the Deshaun Elliott move. I don't see many negatives on the defensive side of the ball here. This defense is going to be nasty. It is going to be very, very good. TJ Watt is going to get his 20-plus sacks. Again, Cam Hayward is going to clog up the middle. This defense is not going to be fun to play. They're not going to give up 20 points a game on average. There's no way. They're going to be in the 17 to 19 points on average allowed per game, in my opinion. Another year of Joey Porter developing. They did add Dante Jackson, who's an okay guy on the outside, but he's better than what they had. I think Dante Jackson's better than Patrick Peterson, who they lost, so I'll go with that. I love their defense. It's the offense I've got questions about. So let's get into their schedule. I've got all 17 games written out right here with their final record. Starting week 1 at Atlanta. I think Pittsburgh goes in and gets the job done here. Atlanta will be in week 1 of a full new install, offensive and defensive. You don't know what that's going to look like. Nobody does. And they've got Kirk Cousins coming off of an Achilles injury. They first round took a quarterback. Their draft was awful. I like to look at coaching as a key factor in week 1. I always think, okay, better coaches are going to win. Both these teams are you're just starting to figure it out. You're getting rolling here. Normally you don't really hit your stride until a couple of games in. Week 1, I'm going coaching, and I think that this is all Mike Tomlin as a key factor here. And like I said, it'll be potentially Cousins' first game since he tore his Achilles tendon. So if he's even out there, what kind of Kirk Cousins are we going to get as he tries to grow with his teammates? But if he's not fully practicing right now, how much can he really grow with his teammates and learn each other? So I like Pittsburgh in this spot, start the season out 1-0 on the road. Moving into week 2, they travel to Denver to take on the Broncos. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers getting a second straight road victory here, going into Denver and winning. More so, this speaks to my dislike of Denver this season, and their just disaster of a quarterback room and Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix. I don't think either of them are the answers. I'm not a Bo Nix person. I have been very vocal about that. Maybe you'll prove me wrong. Not a Bo Nix guy at all. I think they've gotten worse defensively. They'll be going with a rookie. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is going to absolutely eat them alive this game. This will be like a 23-3 type of game, and Denver's likely starting out 0-2, and it's not going to be pretty. Week 3 at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Pittsburgh Steelers, you are 3-0 because the Chargers are going to struggle to play offense and they're going to struggle to play defense. Who do you have on offense to give the ball to? Your running backs, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, who are hopefully still healthy at this point in the season. Unlikely, based on their track record. Your wide receiver room consists of Quentin Johnston, who was widely viewed as a bust last year, Joshua Palmer, who's a good number 3, and then rookie Ladd McConkey. What? How are you going to score? How are you going to score points against a good defense like this? I don't see Ladd McConkey getting open against Joey Porter Jr. I don't see Quentin Johnston getting open against Dante Jackson, who I'm not even that high on. And Joshua Palmer, okay, sure. They're going to struggle. They're going to struggle. The Chargers will. And they're coming to Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh's home opener. They're going to light them up. Pittsburgh moves to 3-0 on the year. Week 4, Pittsburgh travels to Indiana to take on the Indianapolis Colts, where they do take their first loss of the year, I think. I think the Colts are going to be solid this year, man. I think the Colts are going to be a really good team, assuming Anthony Richardson's back to his full self. If we're looking at Joe Flacco, I'm not as confident. But Anthony Richardson is such a cheat code type of player that if he's fully healthy and ready to go, he's going to run the ball. He's going to be able to move. It will be fun to watch the Patrick Queen versus Anthony Richardson matchup. I just think I like the Colts a little bit more in this spot at home. And the Colts have a really solid defense, too. I don't think they're getting enough credit for that. They've got a solid defense over there, too. And first-round pick, Latu. Latu is going to be a problem for them, and along with DeForest Buckner on the interior. This will be a really fun game to watch. I'm actually kind of excited about this one. I'm going to have Indy getting the home win here. I think it's pretty even, like 49-51 if I was picking my odds here. So give me Indy to give the Steelers their first loss and move them to 3-1. And Pittsburgh Week 5 follows it up with another loss as they host the Dallas Cowboys. Tough loss for Pittsburgh here. I know I'm going to get some pushback on this because Dallas is an indoor team, but this is Week 5. I don't expect weather to be a factor here at this point in time. It's going to be early October. I don't see weather here. Cowboys have just so much talent on both sides of the football. I think they win this game in Pittsburgh in a tough game. I just don't think their offense can keep up with Dallas's offense, plain and simple. I think that it'll be who wins the matchup between Dallas's offense versus Pittsburgh's defense, because the Cowboys' defense is going to shut down the Steelers' offense. If they hold the Cowboys to 17 or less points, they got a shot. But I think if they hit 21, it's over. It's going to be race to 21. If the Cowboys hit 21 points, I think they win that game. If the Steelers hold them to 17, then it's close. But I just don't see any way that they're able to stop them enough for that. So I'm going to go with Dallas here and move the Steelers to 3-2. Week 6, we've got the Steelers going to Vegas to take on the Raiders. And I got the Steelers back to their winning ways here on the road against the Raiders, who are still going to be searching for an identity at this point in the season because they don't have one. They didn't draft a quarterback. They're rolling out Gardner Minshew with the plan of playing him for all 17 games. Josh Jacobs is gone. It's now Zamir White's show. This is a totally new Raiders team underneath Antonio Pierce. I kind of like the direction they're going. Brock Bowers, I liked him. Kind of a shock pick, truthfully, with none of the quarterbacks on the board, though. It made some sense. I'm not a huge believer in the Raiders roster, and I don't think Gardner Minshew's the guy. It's just going to be, hey, we just need to stop Devontae Adams. If we can stop Devontae Adams, we win the football game, and I think they can. I think Joey Porter's good. He'll follow him around the field. I don't think he needs to shut down one-on-one. He'll need safety help. He'll need help all over the place, but I think if you stop Devontae Adams, you win this game pretty handily, and I don't care that it's in Vegas. Vegas fans, no offense, it's just not really – you haven't been there long, so it's hard to really call that a home field advantage. And to be fair, Steelers fans travel at best, maybe the best in the entire NFL. There are so many Steelers fans and those terrible towels waving around every single stadium you look at. Kudos to you Steelers fans. You guys show up and show out for your team. So I got them winning here. Week 7 at home against the New York Jets. Maybe just a smidge of bias here. I got the Steelers winning this game here, moving to 5-2 on the year. I think these teams are built really similarly. Great defenses, but some questions on the offensive side of the ball. Questions about Aaron Rodgers. Absolutely questions about Aaron Rodgers. Last time we saw Aaron Rodgers, he was playing okay football in Green Bay. Okay football. Well, he won the MVP. Okay, I don't care. It was like a lifetime ago. He hasn't done anything the last 2 seasons. Literally did nothing last year. Coming off of an Achilles tear. He's 41 years old. I'm expecting some struggles. I don't think he's the same guy. I'm watching these training camp videos. Guys, he cannot keep that heel off the ground. He cannot keep his heel off the ground. That's not a good sign for him and his Achilles recovery. I think the Steelers win this game at home. I do think they're pretty equal as far as teams go. And if Aaron Rodgers plays, all bets are off because it's still Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think he's Aaron Rodgers anymore. So I'm going to go with the Steelers at home here just as the better team, a little bit better team, and definitely the better coach team. I don't like Saleh, and I definitely don't like Nathaniel Hackett. So give me the Steelers here 5-2. Week 8, Staying at home, taking on another New York team, the New York Giants. Honestly, guys, not a lot of analysis needed here. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to score or stop people from scoring on them. I don't think the Giants are going to be very good. I'm sorry. Love Malik Neighbors. That's what you got going for you. Big fan of Malik Neighbors. Please don't ruin him. Get him out of there quickly. I think the Steelers absolutely dominate this game, in my opinion. I don't think there's anybody on the Giants that can beat you outside of Malik Neighbors, and even that, I'm not going to put my faith in a rookie wide receiver to win a game against Mike Tomlin. I'm just not. So 6-2 at just about the midway point of the season here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it actually brings us to Week 9, which is their bye week. I love that bye week. Smack dab in the middle. You play 8, you rest, you play 9. That's a fantastic bye week to have. So good for them. Love a midseason bye. Moving us into the second half of the season here, Week 10. They travel to Washington to take on the Commanders. Washington's in year 1 of a total reconstruction, bringing in Dan Quinn as the new head coach to run the defensive side and Cliff Kingsbury to run the offensive side. Jaden Daniels may have a good rookie year, but they're not going to beat the Steelers. Guys, there's just no way. This is the first year for the Commanders here. We're looking at a few wins maybe. I just don't. I'm not a Washington believer this season. I like some of the moves they've made this offseason, but they've continually lost pieces from that defense. And if they struggle early in the season, Jonathan Allen, see ya. He'll be going to a contender for a second-round pick. And I don't think Washington has a prayer in this game against the Steelers. I could be wrong. But just looking at roster and coaching, I got to go Steelers here. Steelers 7-2. I was looking at the schedule. Have you heard any really great teams outside of Dallas so far, guys? This is insane. I could not believe how easy the first 10 weeks are. One playoff team, and it's Dallas, and you get them in Pittsburgh. What the hell? That's unbelievably nice to start the season. But then you look at the rest of the season, you're like, oh, there it is. Week 11, they host the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm going to give the Steelers the victory here. I think that these two teams likely split home and home. They always do. Steelers, I don't care if Kenny Pickett's a quarterback. I don't care who's a quarterback. These two teams hate each other. They play each other close. It's going to be a bloody, drag down, knockout fist fight between these two teams that just don't like each other. Maybe a Patrick Queen revenge game here. I don't know. But I love watching AFC North teams beat up on each other because it makes for really entertaining football of just physical. If you like old school football, this is a game you want to tune into every single year. But I got the Steelers winning this one, moving to 8-2 on the year. Probably the number 1 seed in the AFC. I mean, it is a fantastic start here. Week 12, they go to Cleveland. In Cleveland, I like the Browns to win here. Very similar teams, run the ball on offense, play fantastic defense. And when you have two teams of similar caliber, similar roster construction, similar ideology matching up, I like the home team. I like the home Cleveland Browns here in the dog pound. So go Cleveland, move the Steelers to 8-3 on the season. Week 13, they travel to Cincinnati. I mean, here come the divisional matchups, right? I just think Joe Burrow and the boys are too explosive for the Steelers to keep up with on offense. I will say a key matchup to watch here will be the Steelers front getting after Joe Burrow. That offensive line is just bad. They bring in so much talent in the offensive line. Like you see the training camp videos. I know it's training camp. They don't have pads on. Totally different thing. But you see Joe's already struggling. So another interesting fact, they didn't face Joe Burrow last year, but in the previous 2 meetings with Joe Burrow, he's thrown in 2 games, 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. The loss, I believe, he threw 2 touchdowns and 4 picks, and then the win, the opposite, 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. I think it's going to be a crazy game, but I do think Cincinnati, again, at home here, gets the W and moves the Steelers to 8-4 on the year. Then they get Cleveland at home, so Cleveland, Cincy, Cleveland here. And at home is similar. Like I just said, I'm not going to contradict myself. Similar rosters, similar styles of football. Give me the home team, and that's Pittsburgh here. I like Pittsburgh in this spot. Similar rosters. I'm going home. 9-4 for the Steelers at this point. And then we hit a rough stretch. Week 15, they travel to Philadelphia. I think Philly ended the year horribly last season, as we all know that they did, going 1-5 down the stretch, and then a first-round loss to Baker Mayfield and the boys in Tampa Bay. I think this year they're back to their winning ways, and it's in Philly. Good luck. You're not going to get any calls your way. Nothing's going to go your way. The fans are going to be loud and obnoxious. I got Philly winning this one, a really good football game here, dropping the Steelers down to 9-5 on the season. Before traveling to Baltimore, where, again, I'm giving the home team to win the matchup here between divisional opponents that like to play similar styles of football. I think Lamar Jackson's just too good at home for them to keep up with. Maybe a little bit of juice that Week 11 game that Pittsburgh wins at home, but I think Baltimore wins. Again, these teams just split. They just split with each other. It's what they do. So give me Baltimore here to knock off the Steelers, dropping the Steelers to 9-6. This one's a tough one. These next two games were really tough for me when I was looking at them to analyze. Because on the one hand, Week 17, they're playing Kansas City. It's in Pittsburgh. That's good. Kansas City's an outdoor team, so the weather's not going to bother them at all. And like they haven't played in hostile environments. They just went to Buffalo and Baltimore and knocked them both off in a playoff run to go win the Super Bowl. So they don't really care where they play. And at this point in the season, this is when Kansas City actually starts trying, right? The first 10 weeks, they really could care less what happens. They're just out there having a good time, just playing ball. And then hits, week 14, and they're like, all right, let's kick it in high gear and stop messing around. And I think that this game is kind of a smack in the Steelers fans, kind of a punch in their gut, because I think they get beat up by Kansas City. I really do. I don't think their offense can score against Kansas City's defense. I think Patrick Mahomes has a great game here. And I think we see that Steelers aren't on their level. Steelers were great, 8-2. It's like, yeah, this is a one-seed team. And then Kansas City comes to town and whips them. And we're like, okay. They're not the best, right? They're not the one seed. They're not the best team in the AFC. They're a fringe playoff team still. We haven't seen a ton of growth. And then Week 18, this one is also one of the hardest ones to pick. Do I think the Steelers win every single home game in their division? Do I just think they go 3-3? That's such a cop-out. I can't do it. I can't cop out like that. I think the Bengals go into Pittsburgh and steal this game. Maybe even knocking the Steelers out of playoff contention here. This could be a massive game for playoff implications. Assuming fully healthy rosters, I'm going to give this game to the road Bengals, who are rounding themselves into form for a deep playoff run here in the 2024-2025 season. And I'm sure Steelers fans are going to be pissed about this one. 2-4 in the division, not what you want to see. But guys playing a damn good division. And I like to think I've got my finger on the pulse of the AFC North, right? I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back here. Last time one division had 4 teams go above 500 before this past season was like 40-something years ago. Last year, I said AFC North will have 4 above 500 teams. All 4 teams went above 500. I correctly predicted this division to have 4 teams above 500. For the first time this happened in 40-something years. I knew it was going to be this division because this division is so damn good. And is it possible that at 9-8 the Steelers are in 4th place in the division? Absolutely. That's completely on the table here, and that sucks. But the AFC North is just that damn good. So I've got Steelers going 9-8. It's not pretty, right? But I'm not totally sold that Russell Wilson's the answer. I mean, we're 4 or 5 years out from him being a great quarterback. I mean, is he an upgrade over Pickett? Sure. But is that really that good? No, it's not really an upgrade, right? It's like, I'm taller than that guy. Yeah, that guy's 4'9". You're 5 foot. Congratulations. It's like, that's not great. I think that them having the 4th best quarterback in a division that is just built so similarly to each other is a huge deal. But I do think that Mike Tomlin gets his 9 wins. I think Mike Tomlin keeps his streak going. But again, it's another 9-8 season, Steelers fans, and that sucks because you can't really do anything in the draft with that. You're sitting in the low 20s, high teens at 9-8, and that's a bummer. But also, you get to continue to watch winning football, so I'm sure you can cry into your victory pillows, whatever you want to do. Wipe them up with the towels. It's going to be okay. I'm not a huge Steelers fan for this upcoming season. I don't think they're going to be anything spectacular, but that's mainly because of Russell Wilson. I'm just not big in Russell Wilson going forward. I just kind of think he might be done. Maybe we see Justin Fields and maybe it lights a fire in him and he figures it out and he gets past one read because that's been his kryptonite his whole career. Who knows? But either way, Steelers going 9-8. Let me know what you guys think about that. Steelers fans, I'm certain it's not what you want to hear, but no team right now thinks that their team's going to be bad. There's very few teams and fans out there who are like, I think my team's going to go 5-12. Nobody's saying that because it's full of optimism, right? So that way you've got to kind of step back and look at it with a little bit of objectivity, and that's what I did here with the Steelers. So that's all I've got for you guys in this in-depth breakdown of the Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 season. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys like the video. I know that's corny to ask for that, but it really, you get a couple likes on the video and all of a sudden your views triple, quadruple. It's crazy. So help me defeat the YouTube algorithm. Like the video. Hit that subscribe button. This is one of 32. You're going to be hearing from us a lot in the next month because football is damn near back, people. So excited about it. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys in the next one.